Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions: the mystery of the USS Nimitz UFO Encounter, the declassified videos the Pentagon cannot explain. Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction, not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. In November 2004, pilots from the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group encountered an unidentified object off the coast of Southern California. Commander David Fravor, a veteran naval aviator, described a white tic-tac-shaped object that moved in ways that violated known physics. No wings, no exhaust, no sonic boom, apparent maneuvers at speeds exceeding 2,000 miles per hour. The encounter was captured on the F-18's Advanced Targeting Forward-Look infrared camera. In 2017, the video was released by a private organization. In 2020, the Pentagon confirmed the video was authentic and had been taken by U.S. Navy personnel. It has never been explained. The USS Princeton's radar had been tracking anomalous objects for 2 weeks before the visual encounter. Multiple trained military observers witnessed the same object. What did Commander Fravor see, and why has the most sophisticated military in history been unable to identify it? This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the landscape of modern documented mysteries, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. The 20th and 21st centuries were supposed to be the age of answers. Science had decoded DNA, split the atom, put humans on the moon, and mapped the genome. By the logic of accelerating discovery, every mystery should be converging toward explanation. And yet the ledger of genuinely unexplained phenomena, events witnessed by credible observers, investigated by serious researchers, and still lacking a satisfying account, has not shrunk. If anything, it has grown. Part of this is a failure of classification. Phenomena that do not fit established categories tend to be dismissed rather than investigated, filed under anecdotal or mass hysteria, and removed from serious consideration. This is not always wrong. Genuine hoaxes and misperceptions account for a large portion of anomalous reports, but the dismissal is sometimes premature, and the cost is real. Cases that might have yielded genuine insight are closed before they are fully examined. Witnesses are discredited. Evidence is lost. The question is never properly asked. The cases that endure, that survive rigorous scrutiny, and still refuse to yield to conventional explanation are a small but significant set. They share certain characteristics: multiple independent witnesses, physical evidence consistent with witness testimony, and a complete absence of any plausible prosaic explanation that accounts for all the data. These are not ghost stories. They are open problems in empirical science, waiting for someone with the right tools and the intellectual courage to take them seriously. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades. And patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter. The core evidence surrounding the USS Nimitz UFO Encounter, the declassified videos the Pentagon cannot explain, is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. The Nimitz encounter occurred on 14 November 2004, approximately 100 kilometers off the coast of Southern California, during a training exercise involving the USS Nimitz carrier strike group. The USS Princeton, equipped with the SBY-1 radar system, then among the most advanced naval radar in the world, had been tracking anomalous aerial objects for approximately 2 weeks before the encounter, recording contacts that descended from 28,000 meters to near sea level in seconds. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes. But as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers also discovered Commander David Fravor led a flight of 4 F/A-18F Super Hornets that was redirected to investigate one of the radar contacts. Fravor and his wingman observed a white, elongated object approximately 12 meters long, shaped like a tic-tac, with no visible wings, engines, or exhaust. The object was hovering above a disturbed patch of ocean surface and appeared to respond to Fravor's approach by moving to mirror his aircraft before accelerating away and disappearing. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this, and that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine. A second flight of F/A-18s, scrambled after Fravor's encounter, carried a pilot with a FLIR targeting pod who captured the footage, now known as the FLIR-1 or Tic-Tac video. The video shows an object that maintains a consistent shape while apparently rotating, and that moves in ways inconsistent with any known aircraft or atmospheric phenomenon. The footage was classified, held within Navy files, and not publicly released for 13 years. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation, but the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, in December 2017, the New York Times and To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science simultaneously published the FLIR-1 video alongside reports about the Pentagon's Advanced Air Space Threat Identification Program. The release prompted the Pentagon to acknowledge the program and begin a process of review. In April 2020, the Department of Defense officially confirmed that the FLIR-1 video and 2 other UAP videos were authentic recordings made by U.S. Navy personnel and had not been authorized for public release. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain within the accepted framework. These are not fringe commentators. They are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of Luis Elizondo, who served as director of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, resigned in 2017, and subsequently stated publicly that the Nimitz object and similar encounters demonstrated flight characteristics that current human technology cannot replicate, including instantaneous acceleration, hypersonic velocity without a sonic signature, low observability to radar despite physical presence, and transmedium travel across air and water. He testified before the U.S. Senate Armed Services Committee in 2021. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding. The 2021 Preliminary Assessment on Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, produced by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, reviewed 144 UAP reports from U.S. government sources and was unable to explain 143 of them, including the Nimitz Encounter. The report identified potential national security implications and recommended further study. Congress subsequently established the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, ARO, in 2022 to lead ongoing investigation of UAP events. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological error. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations, and in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. We are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain the USS Nimitz UFO Encounter, the declassified videos the Pentagon cannot explain. This is where the debate becomes most intense, because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that classified U.S. or foreign adversary technology, a hypersonic aircraft, drone, or advanced propulsion system not publicly acknowledged, is the most conventional explanation for the Nimitz object. No nation has publicly demonstrated technology with the flight characteristics described by Fravor and captured on FLIR, but classified programs by definition cannot be fully assessed. The 2-week radar tracking before the encounter and the apparent responsiveness to Fravor's approach are more consistent with controlled flight than natural phenomena, lending some support to this hypothesis despite the absence of any corroborating evidence. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence, but it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that extraterrestrial origin is not an official government position, but has not been ruled out by any of the UAP task force reports. Former intelligence official David Grush testified before Congress in 2023 that the U.S. government possesses non-human origin craft recovered from crash sites, a claim that has not been independently verified, but that was made under oath and has not been legally refuted. The Nimitz object's demonstrated capabilities, if genuine, are not consistent with any terrestrial engineering program known to be in existence. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that natural plasma or atmospheric phenomenon misidentified by sensors and observers is the most conservative scientific explanation. Ball lightning and other plasma phenomena can produce luminous objects with unusual electromagnetic signatures. Critics of this explanation note that plasma phenomena do not typically produce the structured, consistent shape visible in the FLIR video, do not respond to approaching aircraft, and do not produce the 2-week radar tracking history documented by the USS Princeton's operators. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree. That is normal and healthy in sci. NCE, What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers, working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding the USS Nimitz UFO Encounter, the declassified videos the Pentagon cannot explain, does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes USS Princeton radar operators with extensive experience tracked anomalous objects for approximately 2 weeks before the visual encounter. Multiple experienced operators on multiple shifts confirmed the tracks. The objects demonstrated flight characteristics, including altitude changes from 28,000 meters to sea level in seconds, that the operators stated were unlike any known aircraft or missile. The Princeton's radar was subsequently calibrated and confirmed to be functioning normally during the period of the observations. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented. The FLIR 1 video was confirmed authentic by the Pentagon in April 2020. The object shown maintains a consistent tic-tac shape while apparently rotating on its axis and shows no infrared signature consistent with any known propulsion system, no exhaust plume, no heat gradient from engine or aerodynamic heating. Independent analysts have confirmed that the object's movement in the video is inconsistent with sensor or camera artifact explanations and represents a physical object. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed David Fravor's account is consistent in all major details across multiple retellings given over 17 years, in congressional testimony, television interviews, and sworn statements. His wingman, Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate, corroborated the visual observation independently. A third witness on the Princeton confirmed radar contact at the time and location of the visual encounter. The convergence of radar, FLIR, and multiple independent visual witnesses makes this the most multiply corroborated UAP encounter in recorded history. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding the USS Nimitz UFO Encounter, the declassified videos the Pentagon cannot explain. Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. The All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office was established by Congress in 2022 with a mandate to investigate UAP events across all military domains. David Fravor has testified before the Senate Armed Services Committee. The 2023 congressional hearings featured David Grush's whistleblower testimony about recovered non-human craft, claims that remain unverified but were delivered under oath. No explanation for the Nimitz encounter has been provided by any government or scientific body. RO continues to receive and review reports. The Nimitz encounter remains the most credentialed, multiply-witnessed, and instrumentally documented UAP event in history, and its cause is formally unresolved. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made. New analyses are being published. New voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of the USS Nimitz UFO Encounter, the declassified videos the Pentagon cannot explain from the historical record, through the physical evidence, across the competing theories, and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of Nimitz UFO ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in this documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process. And the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, we hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, please subscribe to the channel. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment below telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.